Thousands of San Clemente residents have signed a petition to stop the city from selling beachfront property. Now the city will vote on Measure A in March. Here's David Nazar.
Blue sky, blue ocean, and these days lots of folks in San Clemente feeling blue over plans for this parking lot on 3 acres of oceanfront public property. The city wants to sell the land to a Costa Mesa developer.
Measure A is all about stopping the city from selling beachfront land, approximately 3 acres, for about $1 million to a private developer, and for taking out the parking lot that we currently have and putting it about half a mile away from here so that our beach access is going to be completely gone.
And in its place, the city wants to build a shopping center.
They're going to build about 50,000 square feet, and it's going to be made up of retail, restaurants, and commercial and office buildings, and no parking. The parking, actually, the city is going to be paying for that.
Do you see any positives to having a shopping center or retail out here? I'm sure some people in town would say it's great.
Well, actually, it's disastrous.
Disastrous, says Mann, because this real estate deal makes no sense to him and thousands of other residents who signed a petition to stop the sale of this property. Now voters will have the final say in March.
The shopping center should not be on the beach, and for the amount of revenue, the sales tax that the city is going to be receiving on this is the equivalent of each resident paying 2 cents a year additionally in their property tax.
The opponents say the latest numbers on Measure A show about 70% of San Clemente residents do not approve of the project. However, look around town. There are signs scattered throughout San Clemente of the 30% in favor of the development. However, this issue is about more than just a piece of property, preserving public usage, or selling to a developer. It's what many of these residents call the worst land deal in city history, and here's why.
The city of San Clemente seized the property upon which the lab wishes to build upon through a process called eminent domain. And they seized it from private property owners, San Clemente private property owners, and it was to be used for public benefit, for a public park, and beach parking.
The former mayor says this decades-old land grab for public use, now to be sold off to a private developer, is unconscionable.
It's outrageous. Eminent domain, to me, is a sacred issue. You cannot seize land like that. It's a trust between the government and the residents of the community.
A trust that this resident says was betrayed. Do you see any positives about having a shopping center in this area or any type of retail?
No, not in this economy, and the financial facts have already said it's not going to make it. We aren't going to see the money from it, and it's a huge loss to our residents and our way of life.
Over here at City Hall, San Clemente leaders declined to comment on this story. We requested interviews with the city council, with the mayor, with the city manager. All said no. One city council person told me it would not look good to talk about this story on camera.
This is probably the most frustrating thing there is, and the city council should be ashamed. What do they have to hide?
In San Clemente, David Nazar reporting.
Well, Debbie, aside from the wisdom of a city that wants to get this issue passed, not wanting to talk about it, is this really a desecration of a site, or because this was approved by voters a couple of years ago? They actually approved the concept in an advisory vote. Is this a revenue generator, more access, beautiful views for the ocean in this wonderful setting? What do you think?
No to all of that, but as Bill Lobdell can attest, I cut my political teeth on an issue almost identical to this in Huntington Beach, where the city tried to build a huge mall like that on the beach, called it Blighted. The beach was blighted. And we were able to stop it. We had a vote also on a measure. But these kinds of projects don't generate the kind of revenue they think, and they will detract from the beach. Think of Seaport Village in Long Beach, a disaster. I can't think of any successful shopping center type places that have been built on the beach, because half of your audience or half of your potential customers are fish. And so these things are not destined to be the generators that they think that they will be.
Sounds like a good place for a seafood restaurant.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe for that, but not a shopping area.
Karen, is this another example of terrible eminent domain and what cities do with land, or can you come to the defense of this project?
No, it is a great example of what has happened after the Kelo decision by the Supreme Court, where rather than requiring the land use be the land be used for public use, not purposes, now with a definition open to a purpose that suits an elected board who may then be open to these charges of, was it a sweetheart deal, was it, there are all these concerns, and these definitions of blight. I've litigated several of these cases where the property condemned is highly questionable as to what these definitions of blight now are. So it is just a can of worms when it comes to being able to interpret generally for public purpose instead of requiring it be for public use.
Bill, as you know, the developer of this, there was a reference to the lab. This is a real, in Costa Mesa, it's a hip shopping place. People love it. It's a cool thing. I mean, can't they have a really cool thing there by the ocean?
I think it would be a really cool thing. Not a good thing, but it'd be a cool shopping center. The lab developers, they have the camp also. They have projects around the state, and they are a responsible, good developer. But, and I don't care how much money it makes. You have a finite piece of beachfront property, and you don't stick a shopping mall in it, in my opinion. I think that's what San Clemente is going to do. Even though I think there's one thing to say we make advisory vote that we like this project, when it really comes down to it, and they have the power. You know, Debbie in 1988 or whatever, a long time ago, Debbie. But it was a huge upset. It was a done deal. All the polls show that they wanted this development, on the beach, and residents rejected it. And
eventually, that Debbie Cook, who was fighting the project, became the mayor. The mayor of Huntington Beach. Did it launch your political career?
Well, it did. Actually, it drove me to law school. And after that, I went on to politics. But they could be creating a lot of Debbie Cooks down there, and something they may not want to do.
As a politician who deals with the media, what do you think of the fact that are you surprised that the city wouldn't say anything, that they wouldn't, try to put something forward and say, here's why this is a good project?
Well, yes. I mean, we never didn't talk to the press, especially about something like that. So it is a little surprising that they wouldn't come out and talk about it.
Okay.